Hey guys, it's Miss Delcambre. Today's September the 28th, and here's a rundown of what we did in class. So you'll need your journal, your pencil, a highlighter, glue, and 6.1 notes on multiplying your integers. So what we're going to go over today is we're going to do our week review. We have a test on Friday, so I'm going to go talk about that. I want to do a couple of questions on your builder and some new things I've learned on Cami. If you were in my homeroom class or my middle block, we finished our 5-4 notes. If you're watching this video in replay, we've already from last Friday, we've already finished our 5-4 notes. So you should be good on that. And then we're going to start on 6-1 notes, your homework, and where to find your videos. So I'm just going to put videos right there. All right, so let's get started. This is a week in review. So I'm going to come up here to my Google Slides. So this week we are going into multiplying integers and dividing integers, which we've already started on our builder, so you kind of have a head start. This is supposed to be lesson, not Lisa. Don't know where that came from, but I will fix that. So you have 6.1 multiplying integers. Builder 6 is your builder for this week, and you have 6.1 worksheet. 6-2 is tomorrow, dividing integers. 6-3 is applying integer operations. Also, you'll have your study guide because we have a test on Friday. However, I'm letting study guide go out on Tuesday, handing it out on Tuesday, so it can give you an extra day to get it done. And Thursday, we have our review. We have a Kahoot. I also have a GIM kit that I'm probably going to let y'all do. Depends on how much we can get through. And then Friday, we have Unit 3 test, and then the builder is due. The builder is due. So I'm going to close out of here, fix that real quick. Don't know why it says Lisa. L-E-S-S-O. L-E-S-S. Okay. There we go. All right, so that's that. Let's go to your builder. So I'm going to go to my classes. I'm just going to hit first block. Under classwork, builder 6 is already up there. So don't forget your Zoom links are up at the top. Scroll down to find the builders, or you can click the builders to the side. Here's builder 6. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and open in Cami. I've noticed that some people keep getting the same kind of questions wrong. So this week what I'm going to do is going to go through every day and we're going to answer parts of the builder together. All right, so today I went over some parts and tomorrow I'll go over some more in class. Okay, it's loading. So give it a second. Oh, and it saved all of my work. So, all right. So, the first part, multiplying integers. So, it wasn't supposed to save. I guess I never went back and erased it, but that's okay. So, we have -5 times a -4. That gives me a +20 times 4. Times 2 gives me 40. So it's a +40. -2 times a -10 gives me a -20. My rule's right over here. Negative times a positive equals a negative. 2 times a -12 gives me a -24. And -24 times a -1. So negative times a negative gives me a positive. So it would be a +24. I noticed that on some builders, like this one from last week, you set it up, you need to answer it. So don't forget to answer how many times can 22 go into 242. All right. Here we go. 2 cubed is 8. 8 plus 7 minus 6. 8 plus 7 is 15. 15 minus 6 gives me 9. All right. I'm coming over here. Your vocabulary is the same. I'm evaluating. I'm putting 5 in from where I see x, so that would be 5 plus 5, and then you need to solve that. Okay, here is our, thought I got that one. here is our multiple representation. So we have our process, y equals x plus 4. Okay, so your x is on the left column. You need to find the y on the right column. So if I'm putting this in, x is 1, so I'm going to put 1 right here. So 1 plus 4 gives me 5. So I type 5 right there. All right, so coming down here to this one, this would be y equals, okay, x is 3, so 3 plus 4, and 3 plus 4 equals 7. Going down to the next one, y equals, x is 5, so y equals 5 plus 4, which is equal to 9. And finally, you have y equals, x is 7, so 7 plus 4, which gives me 11. So over here to the side, these are my ordered pairs. So I have 1, 5. And my next one, my ordered pair is 3, 7. Then over here, I have 5, 9. And then my last ordered pair is 7, 11. Then I'm going to take these ordered pairs and I'm going to plot them on this coordinate grid. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get my drawing tool out, got my green, I go over 1 and up 5 and I place a dot. You make your thickness bigger, your dot shows up better. Over 3, up 7. And what I did was also zoom this in so I can get it better. And I did that by maximizing the zoom right there to the at the top. All right, over 5 and up 9. And I'm not going to put 7 and 11 on there because it would be a little off. So I'm just going to leave with these 3. Now, this is the new trick I have learned for you to draw a line, okay? You're going to come over here. You're going to click Insert Line. I'm going to go and I'm going to connect the dots. Do you see how I'm connecting the dots with a line? I'm going to kind of let it go a little further. All right, so then I'm coming up with a select tool. I select it, and do you see how like this little table comes up? You're going to come over here to where the little 3-line stack, hold on, there's a 3-line stack, and watch, boom, boom, arrowheads are already there. Cool feature right there. Thank you, Fane Martin, for showing me that. All right, so that gives you a rundown of your builder. All right, I'm going to close this out. Check on my agenda. All right, now let's go over 6.1 notes. So go ahead and get your journals out. And 6.1 notes go right after 5.4, which we cut him out of the textbook. And we're going to talk about multiplying integers today, which we've already have gone over. Let me lock this in place. All right, so the product of two integers with opposite signs is negative. The product of two integers with the same sign is positive. The product of 0 and any other integer is 0. So I'm going to show you two little tools that I use to help us remember. So I'm going to draw a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, and on my tic-tac-toe board, on the diagonal, only one diagonal, I'm going to put positive symbols. And then I'm going to fill in the rest with negative symbols. So this is a reminder that I can remember that a positive times a negative gives me a negative, and it works backwards. A negative times a negative gives me a positive. A negative times a negative times a positive gives me a negative, and a negative times a positive gives me a negative. I can also read it up and down. So a negative times a positive gives me a negative, positive times a negative gives me a negative. Two negatives give me a positive, and two positives give me a positive. So it works every single time if you remember that you do 3 pluses diagonal and fill in the rest with your negative symbols. Another one is your triangle. So if you draw a triangle, I can put a positive up at the top and 2 negatives at the bottom. And 2 negatives give me a positive, and a positive times a negative gives me a negative. So here's my little spiel over there. Positive times a positive equals a positive answer. And a negative times a negative gives me a positive answer. A negative times a positive gives me a negative answer. And a positive times a negative gives me a negative answer. Okay? So if you watch the video, that's PBS Math Club multiplying integers. It's called like the weird indie / triangle video. This will come up on it, so you will see that. All right. So let's go down to the bottom part here. And we have -3 times -5. Well, we have a negative times a positive, so my answer is going to be a negative. And 3 times 5 gives me 15. The math fact doesn't change, guys. The symbols, if it's going to be a positive or a negative, is the only thing that changes. All right, so -10 times -2, negative times a negative is a positive. 10 times 2 gives me 20, so it would be a positive 20. All right, number 6, 7 times -6, a positive times a negative gives me a negative, so I would have a negative 42. 0 times anything will always be 0. Remember, a 0 is neither positive nor negative, it's just 0. So I have 2 negatives, and a negative times a negative gives me a positive. 15 times 3 gives me 45. And 8 times 4, those are both positive. My answer is going to be a positive 32. Okay? So I want us to pay more attention down here. So when a product of integers has an odd number of negative factors. So if you have an odd number of negative factors, and if you don't remember what odd numbers are, that's like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, so forth. Okay, so I'm going to put dot, dot, dot. Okay, those are odd numbers. So when you have an odd amount of negative factors, your answer is going to be negative. Now, if you have an even number of negative factors, if you need to know your even numbers, that's like 2, 4, 6, 8, yada, yada, yada. Gives you a positive answer. Okay, and how we can look at this. All right, so 3 times 3 gives me 9. 9 times -3 gives me a negative 27. There was one negative, one's odd. My answer is going to be negative. Here I have 2 negatives. That's an even amount, so my answer should be positive. So 3 times -3 gives me a negative 9. Negative 9 times a negative 3. 2 negatives give me a positive. So negative 9 times -3 gives me a positive 27. Okay, I have 3, 1, 2, 3 negatives. 3, that would be odd, so it should be negative. So -3 times -3 gives me a positive 9 times a negative 3. And a positive times a negative gives me a negative 27. You see how it works. So 3 times 3 gives me 9 times, and then I like to group them by 2s, like these 2 and then these 2. 3 times -3 gives me a negative 9. 9 times 9 is 81. A positive times a negative gives me a negative 81. So I had 1 negative. It's odd. The answer is negative. Letter E, 3 times 3 is 9 times -3 times -3 gives me a positive 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Letter F, 3 times -3 gives me a negative 9 times -3 times -3 gives me a positive 9. 9 times 9 equals 81. Negative times a positive results in a negative 81. And a negative 81. All right. One thing I want you to remember down here is when you're multiplying 2 negatives, your product, meaning your answer, will be greater than the factors. Okay, so my example, like -5 times -4 gives me a positive 20. 20, which is the product, is greater than -5, and 20, the product, is greater than -4. So it's bigger than both its factors. Do you see? So your answer is a positive, and positives are always going to be larger than negatives. Always, 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 and forever. Okay, let's turn the page over. Remember, if I'm always going too fast, you can always put me on pause. Slow me down. All right, so here are some ways to show multiplication. There are 3 ways that we will see multiplication. You will see it like with a dot, and the dot will kind of be large and in the middle. It doesn't look like a decimal. It's kind of floating high. So 6 times 4, this is with a symbol, or with a symbol. And the symbol is like a dot that's in the middle. 6 times 4. And this is also with a symbol. And that's with the symbol X. It's kind of like in the middle. All right. And then finally with parentheses. You'll see multiplication with parentheses. So those are the main 3 ways that you will see multiplication. You'll see this more when we get into algebra with variables attached to it. So remember that that means multiplication. Okay, one other thing I want to show you is when you're dealing with multiplication, showing it and representing it on a number line. So like 3 times 4. So one key thing when you're multiplying with a number line, so let's draw a number line over here to the side. It's going to be one semi-straight line. It's going to have 2 arrowheads. I'm going to leave it blank for a second because when we're multiplying integers and we're showing it on a number line, you always start at 0. Your starting point is always at 0. So always start at 0. Okay, remember when we were doing adding and subtracting, we started with the first number? Always started with the first number on our number line. Well, here you always start on 0. So I'm going to just put 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. So I break it up into 5s. Because 5s are easy for me. So this is saying 3 groups of 4. So start, and I need to go over 4. So that's 1 group. Then I need 3, so I'm going to go over 4 more. That's 2 groups. That's 3 groups, ending me at 12. And you may see like the number 4 above here. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups of 4, which give me 12. Now, how would that be represented if you have a negative? Okay, so I have 3 times a -4. Okay, same rule applies. Always start at 0. So write that down. Always start at 0. Okay, again, I'm making a blank number line. Make sure my arrowheads, because it continues on. And I'm going to put my 0 in the back here to the right. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, -10. 1, 2, 3, 4, -15. All right, and I always start at 0. So remember, I have 3 groups of -4. Negatives are to the left, so I'm going to go to the left 4 3 times. So there goes 1, there goes 2, there goes 3, and I end at -12. And you may see it like this, -4, -4, -4. Okay? So that's how you can see it on a number line. I'm letting you know and drawing this because it may be a test question, and I've seen this on STAR a couple of times, so I want you to be aware of it. All right, so the final thing is we're going to write a word problem. All right, and we're talking about football. Football happened this weekend. So the Falcons The Falcons had 6 penalties in the fourth quarter against the Cowboys. For 5 yards each. Period. What was a loss? Let's say their loss in yards for the fourth quarter. Okay. I do not know if this was a true statement. I know that the Falcons are 0-3, so maybe this has happened. So the Falcons had 6 penalties. We talked about penalties. Penalties is a bad thing. Okay, so 6 penalties tell me that he's at 6 times they made a mistake. So 6 penalties. In the fourth quarter just tells me the time that it's occurred. So the fourth quarter of the game. So we do nothing with that. For 5 yards each. And I want you to put a box around that each. What was their loss in yards for the fourth quarter? Okay, that keyword of why I put a box around each is because most of the time each means multiply. So I'm going to take this 6, which represents my penalties. Okay, and multiply it by a -5 because they lost 5 yards. And 6 times a -5 gives me a -30. So we can say that they had a 30-yard loss in the fourth quarter. Okay. So that's the last word problem that we're going to do today. We're going to do one tomorrow, so get prepared. On your homework for tonight, so let me minimize this screen. When you go to your classwork, all right, I got my builder, the homework right here, 6-1, multiplying integers. The first couple of questions, the first 12 questions are all multiplying. They're all basic computation. The one thing I think I counted, I think 8 or 9 are basic math facts. The others you may have to think of, but the others are about 8 to 9 are basic math facts that should just come to you automatically. 13 through 17 are word problems. As you see, there's this word 3 degrees each hour. You see that key word that I was talking about with each that we were going to be multiplying with. Okay, so pay close attention with that. The video that you need to watch, again, is in my math, under the video shown in class. Give me one moment. PBS Math Club, multiplying integers, and it says, this one says multiplying integers. I may have it say weird indie movie / triangle. But watch on this, and then this can give you a little video recap of everything. All right, so that concludes multiplying with integers today. Hope you have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.